Good evening and welcome to The List on UW-TV. I'm Zach Kreider.
And I'm Charlie Siegel. And for the next few minutes, we'll present our top 5 sports stories of the week and discuss why they made the top 5. Did your top 5 make our list? Let's find out. At number 5, the NBA was back in action this past weekend after the All-Star break, and we saw some great games. Zach, what teams are heating up as we head into the last third of the 2026 NBA season?
Well, last week on the show, Charlie, I made the prediction that the San Antonio Spurs were going to win the 2026 NBA championship. And what kind of man would I be if I don't stick to that prediction? They have looked phenomenal lately. 9-1 in their last 10, currently on an 8-game win streak. They're top 6 in offensive efficiency, top 2 in defensive efficiency. And they just create mismatches at everywhere on the floor. You talk about their depth at guard and the alien Victor Wembanyama himself. I mean, that's a mismatch in and of itself. Looking at the East, I'm impressed with the Bucks, how they've played. No Giannis means a much more free-flowing offense. They're able to create a lot of shots, specifically with their guards, KPJ, Ryan Rollins, Cam Thomas, and Ousmane Dieng. He's playing some very quality minutes, diamond in the rough a little bit for the Bucks. And looking at the East, fascinating to me. I mean, we're looking at 5 teams that could absolutely make it to the finals. The Pistons, Celtics, Knicks, Cavs, and Sixers. It's genuinely wide open.
Yeah, you talk about the Bucks and Cam Thomas. As someone who has been believing in Cam Thomas for years on the Brooklyn Nets, he gets cut and he gets sent over to Milwaukee. And a lot of people didn't know what they were going to do with him. They knew he was just a scorer, and he's a great complementary player to Giannis when he does make his return.
At number 4, spring training is underway in Florida and Arizona, and the MLB season is officially here. Players are back in action, some gearing up for the regular season, and some preparing to play for their countries in the upcoming WBC before starting their season. Charlie, what's some news from both the Grapefruit and Cactus Leagues?
Well, real quick, I want to talk about the Grapefruit League here. I want to talk about the Yankees and some bullpen battles that I have here. Some young arms like hard-throwing Carlos LaGrange are pushing for bullpen rotation battles. The 22-year-old's fastball and strikeout upside could earn him a big league innings if he keeps performing. You talk about young talent in the league and you talk about the bullpen problem. I feel like every team could always have a better bullpen. And, when you get a young arm, young talent like that, throwing hard, and they're playing really hard in the spring training, yeah, it's going to be good for your team. Another prospect, Dax Kilby, posted a strong pro debut last year, and he could climb into prospect list rapidly if he continues to rake in his spring games.
Yeah, one of the biggest prospects, kind of building off that point with the Yankees. Of course, in the first spring game, Aaron Judge, 2 homers, wasting no times to start the season. Specifically, the prospect Spencer Jones. He's a 24-year-old center fielder. He drew Shohei Ohtani comparisons for the way that he was swinging the bat. He crushed a solo shot. So anytime you're getting compared to Ohtani, you know that he's probably a pretty decent player. Just looking at spring training as a whole, specifically Chicago White Sox, I know that we're supposed to take it with a grain of salt, but they are 3-0, and they have the best run differential in the entire league, not just the Cactus League. They are plus 19, 24 runs scored, 5 runs given up. I mean, where are the Chicago White Sox coming from? We're talking about the Chicago Cubs and the Milwaukee Brewers, our 2 favorite baseball teams. They are at the bottom. It's not a great start to spring training. But of course, take it with a grain of salt. When we do get into MLB, I'm sure that those teams will be a lot better. And Ryan O'Hearn, he got a great ovation from Orioles fans making his debut for the Pirates. I think the Pirates are a sneaky team to watch this year.
At number 3, March is near, and college basketball is getting more and more exciting. We saw the 4 potential number 1 seeds of the NCAA tournament go at it this weekend, along with other big-time games featuring ranked teams and conference opponents, all battling for a place in the big dance. Zach, what game stood out to you this past weekend?
Well, it was truly a super Saturday. 3 huge ranked matchups, starting off BYU taking down Iowa State. Nearly a 30-point triple-double from A.J. Debonsa. Arizona gets it done against Houston, but I specifically want to talk about this Duke-Michigan game. What a game that it was. Cam Boozer, that guy is him. 68-63 win, nearly a 20-point triple-double. They announced themselves as the 1 seed for this upcoming March Madness tournament. I can't wait to see what they do. These are obviously the 2 best teams in the country. I think what we just saw is a preview of what the national title game is going to be in March Madness. They're 1-2 in KenPom, which is an advanced metric, talking about offensive, defensive efficiency, luck, adjusted tempo, and just overall, these are undoubtedly the 2 best teams in the country.
Yeah, when we talk about Duke, and they're playing really well, and they're historically one of the greatest basketball schools in the NCAA, the biggest is can they get it done in these big games without Cooper Flagg? We've seen them have a great team, be number 1 leading into the tournament, and then they fall in early. We just got to hope that Duke can get it done and stay healthy and stay active going into the tournament.
Yeah, and we see so many teams, time in and time out. You go all the way back to 2015 when the Badgers were good. Badgers can make some noise too. Just throwing it out there for 2026. But back in 2015, we're talking about a legendary Kentucky team in 2015. We've seen teams consistently come up as the number 1 seed, undefeated seasons. They look like they're unstoppable, and then they just fall short in March. All it takes is one game. It's not any given Sunday. It's any given whatever day they play the March Madness game. But I think both of these teams should easily have the best shot to make it to the championship game. Like I said, best in advanced metrics, and just the eye test too, you can see they're the best. We've got more coming up on the list, including a discussion of the gold medals won on the ice and D3 basketball conference tournaments coming up. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the show. Josh, let's take a look at some highlights from this last game here. What a performance by the UW-TV staff in this one.
Absolutely. Look at this clip. Bree is going to signal for Ryan to cut to camera 2, but instead Ryan's going to cut to 3, and that's where things might take a turn. But hold on a second here. Just when you think it's over, Bree makes the split-second decision and reaches over Ryan to cut to camera 2 herself.
And the truck goes wild. Once again, the UW-TV staff delivers.
Here at UW-Whitewater Intramural Sports, we have a motto: a sport for everyone and everyone in a sport.
Come on! Kept it anyways. Oh, she got that off, and they're going to count it.
Had a blast. Always have fun at intramurals.
Every day we strive to go above and beyond that goal by providing healthy exercise, promoting leisure education, and giving students that competitive atmosphere they are looking for.
Yes! Yes!
It's exciting. Brings me back to those high school days with Friday Night Lights.
With our 25 different intramural sports offered, we guarantee that we have a sport for you. Go to our website and find your sport today.
Welcome back to the list on UWW-TV. Let's continue the countdown to this week's top sports stories. At number 2, the USA is on top of the hockey world after defeating Canada in both men's and women's ice hockey at the 25th Winter Olympics. Charlie, talk me through how each U.S. team struck gold on ice.
Well, I want to start off in saying I think by the women winning the gold medal is to no one's surprise. They won back in 2018. This group, they've been playing really well this season, and I just think the women's team is the best in the world, Zach, because they are the best in the world. And on to the men's, man. What a game. You go into the game and you're the underdog. Everyone thinks you're going to lose. Everyone thinks, the U.S. shouldn't have been there. I think they were Canada's best competition aside from Sweden. Canada was the big bad. And I like to compare this game to the 1980 Olympics. You had the Soviet Union and they were the big bad. Canada this year is the big bad. And the U.S. came in as underdogs and they won, I think they had total juggernauts. I think Canada had the talent and the team. They had all the guys. They had the best team. They had the best roster. But I think the U.S. had that grit. They had that spirit. And what a game from Connor Hellebuck, Zach.
Yeah.
What a game.
Wow.
Everyone saw that one save he had on open ice when Devin Taves went in to go put it, and Connor Hellebuck miraculously saved that. I like to think that was the ghost and the spirit of Johnny Gaudreau going in there with a stick and keeping the puck out. I absolutely love USA Hockey. I've been anticipating this for years, and for the second time, we are gold medal champions, Zach.
Yeah, and big shout out to the Hughes brothers as well, coming up clutch in both overtime games that we played throughout the entirety of the Olympics. And congratulations to the men. First time in almost half a century, like you said, miracle on ice. It's been since 1980 since we were last on top for gold. Just going back to the women's, I mean, they breezed through the preliminary rounds. They only let, one goal pass, I think. They scored 20 themselves. I mean, it was complete domination from the women. Just unbelievable stuff. Like the men, they faced Canada. Funny enough, the same exact score, 2-1 in overtime. Shout out to Carolyn Harvey. She won the MVP and Best Defender.
In our top story of the week, the WIAC men's and women's basketball seasons wrapped up over the weekend, and the conference tournaments will take place across the state this week. Zach, what stood out to you from the season, and how do the men's and women's tournaments shape up?
Well, I am excited for both of these teams. Specifically for the men's, this is the first time that they have had the 1 seed in the WIAC since 2015. They look like a great connected basketball team. They weren't playing their best at the start of the year, but down the stretch, I mean, they looked like an otherworldly top 10 contending basketball team. They're shooting like an insane percent from three. I think coming into this past game against River Falls, they were top 13 in the nation in three-point percentage. I mean, this is a team that is just a sniper. Colin Madsen, Luke Barra, they always get it done. For the women's, a lot more impressed with the past game that they just played, the WIAC tournament game. Going into it, of course, they were coming off 2 losses, which is the first time this whole season they lost back-to-back games. But going into this one, we saw a mix of just a lot of personnel from Coach Corral, a lot of press defense, and I think that makes me feel a little bit better about the women's chances going into this tournament.
Yeah, and there's 3 women that stood out to me on this women's team here, Zach, and that's Brooke Stenclift, Bree McCurdy, and Mia Gillis. You talk about people needing to step up. When you're losing 2 games in a row, it's next man up, it's next person. We need someone to show them the way and just pave a path to greatness. And that's what we saw from these 3 ladies here, man. I just think they played a great game. A lot of minutes, 30 minutes from almost all 3 of them. Putting the team on their back is what I like to say.
Yeah, and I think we will see a little bit more success from the men's team. If I had to pick one, I think that the men are going to fare a little bit better in the tournament just because of the way that they're able to shoot the ball. They're an offensive juggernaut. They play solid defense. Brock Marino and Richie Warren anchoring the posts. For the women, I still would love to see a second scoring option outside of Mia Gillis. Like you said, Stenclift and McCurdy played phenomenal today, but we have yet to see a consistent second source of offense outside of Mia Gillis. And that will do it for this edition of The List. We'll be back in a week to talk about our next week's top 5 sports headlines. I'm Zach Kreider.
And I'm Charlie Siegel. And we'll see you next time for more stories right here on UW-TV.